And we're back. We got another one. But before we get going, let's take care of some housekeeping notes. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, call Epic today. That's 708-905-5300. That's 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. I also want to let you guys know about Attorney Prayer. She has a legal solutions team. Her team is having a want to buy a house home buyers brunch. That's going to be done at Morgan Park United Methodist Church on September 14th at 1 o'clock at 11030 South Longwood Drive, Chicago, Illinois. That is the Want to Buy a House Home Buyers Brunch on September 14th. So make sure if you have an opportunity, check that out. I will be there in attendance. Don't forget about, hey, if you are thinking about getting pre-approved for a mortgage or want to buy a house, check out that book that's right behind me, The Ultimate Mortgage Guide. It's available on Amazon. It's a step-by-step playbook for turning your mortgage into a wealth building machine. Whether you're, first-time investor, first-time buyer, definitely a book to check out. After the show, we would tell you definitely make sure you're on the lookout for the most recent Epic Spotlight interview with Olivia White. She's a seasoned realtor based out of Aurora, Illinois. Her story is a masterclass in professionalism and client care. So take a look at Epic Spotlight interview right on YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Epic Spotlight, and check out Olivia White. All right, let's go through our preferred listings. One thing that is really cool about our preferred listings, our goal is to help people buy homes, get them pre-approved for homes, whether it's an investment or primary. One of the properties last week that we were mentioning actually is under contract, and that's an awesome thing. Now, obviously, we would love for you to be under contract, especially with a great lender that I know in Epic Mortgage, but we also do want the listings to go through. So I want to read the preferred listings. We have 2436 Planters Mill Way, Conyers, Georgia, going for $399. It's a 4-bed, 2.5 bath. Contact Angela Pinnell. That's 404-425-4660. We have 1100 South 3rd Avenue, Maywood, Illinois. We have a price drop on this one. It's gone now to a $375. It's a 5-bedroom, 2-bath house. Seller is willing to give seller closing costs as well. So be on the lookout. Contact Tamika Bishop, 630-479-6352. We also have 8228 South LaSalle Avenue. That's Chicago, Illinois, going for $250,000. It's a 3-bed, 1-bath. Contact Amico Pope, 808-428-3770. We have 1413 East End, Chicago Heights. It's a commercial storage unit going for $165,000. Contact Amico Pope, 808-428-3770. We have 1645 Western Avenue, Chicago Heights, Illinois, going for $339,000. It's a former Burger King location. It's a commercial spot. We learned yesterday we do offer commercial lending. Contact Keith Terry, 773-655-1360. We also have 14327 Lincoln Avenue. This is my client's house, so let's help him sell this house so he can move on. It's going for $225,000. It's a 3-bed, 2-bath home. Contact Evelyn Woods, 773-718-9742. We have a condo, 548 East 50th Street, Unit 3. I think that's Hyde Park, Chicago. 3-bedroom, 2-bath condo. That's a big one. Jessica Roberson, 708-722-5106. We have a fix and flip opportunity, a renovation opportunity. This is going to be right up Brandon's alley. 7723 South Honorary Street, Chicago, Illinois. Contact Brittany Davis, 773-971-8714. We have another condo, 6945 South Dorchester Avenue, Unit 2S. Contact Evelyn Woods, 773-718-9742. And last but not least, we have a new one, 9049 South Parnell Avenue, Chicago. It's going for $279,980. Contact Sebastian Kupiec at 773-430-8988. So those are our preferred listings. You can see all those listings on our website at www.danteroyster.com. All right. We got Vince, we got Brandon. How you doing, guys?
Hi, man. How are you?
Doing well, doing well.
All right, Brandon, this is the first time on this show. So why don't you go ahead and let everybody know we got an audience already building up. So let everybody know who you are.
All right, I'm Brandon Harrington, a native from Broadview, Illinois, Chicago lander is like I like to call myself. Been in the mortgage industry for about 20 years. This is my my second job right out of college. Graduated from Truman State University in 2003. Came home and rented cars for 1 year in the snow and decided, yeah, I wasn't going to do that in Chicago anymore. Getting snow off of cars in January was not my thing. And wanted to make some money, learned how to get home loans done, and been doing it ever since. And today I specialize in helping investors do both fix and flips and buy and hold rental properties. We get financing for that. I'm a father, a husband, father of three, and just looking forward to helping move the business forward.
That's awesome. Thanks for coming on. How you doing, Vince?
I'm doing all right, man. Brandon, thanks for joining us here. Obviously,
Absolutely.
me and Dante have been doing this for a little while. As you can tell, he's getting pretty good with that commercial there for the first couple minutes of the show.
That's awesome.
What's funny, just to start off with, this is episode 19. I
Wow.
made it a point that I'm going to have to put the numbers next to the episodes because it's important, because I want people to know, like, to go back. We save all these shows are available on our YouTube channel, on our live. So if you go to YouTube channel, Epic Spotlight, and you click on the live button, it'll show all the live shows that we have. And I want some people to revert back to shows that we had. And so we had a show yesterday, episode 18, with Wyatt Westoff, and he was talking about commercial lending. And what was fascinating to me when we were talking about commercial lending, because it seems like such a hot topic, what I heard, and I'll give Vince's feedback on this. What I heard was that commercial lending is great if you're a business owner. It may not be great as necessarily a landlord per se. There's not a lot of, just with all the remote work that's going on with workers. The idea of like, oh, I'm going to buy this event space. I'm going to buy this, office building. Yes, it makes sense if you're a doctor and that's going to be where your care is going to be taking place, because you're fixing that cost. The variable sometimes is rent. As rent goes up or down, that can fluctuate things. But, as far as a fixed cost, if you own that property, that's great. But it may not be a piece that you want to buy for, hey, I'm going to buy this office space and then I'm going to look for a business to rent it out. It might be a little bit of a risky business compared to what we're going to be talking about today, which is obviously real estate and just residential investing. So I thought that was interesting, and definitely recommend people checking out episode 18 to learn a little bit more about commercial lending. But what was some of your take, obviously, Vince, just from what we talked about yesterday?
I mean, I think we touched on the same things, just different way. My concern, we had a question about, hey, what's commercial real estate look like in the short term? And yesterday in the show, I kind of brought it up to, we have tons of vacant commercial spacing. We just don't hear about it enough. And what are we going to do with it is the question because it's not cheap to renovate it or convert it. And to your other point, having commercial properties and being a landlord, but running your own business within the commercial property seem to be a very good topic, as opposed to making it an investment. But owner occupied commercial seem to be where the target is, and the limited the risk.
Exactly. Yeah. So we learned that yesterday. And then today on episode 19, we want to talk about real estate investing with you. Obviously, based on that conversation, really, steered me to, this is a perfect time to bring you on. And let's talk just, concept strategies first and foremost, just in real estate in general. What are you seeing as far as, your clientele? Are they doing more buy and hold nowadays? Is it still fixing and flipping? What are you seeing out there?
So for us, it's still I would say about 70-30. These days, about 70% buy and holds. People are able to find cash flowing properties and get into those, relatively easy with investor loans. But there are still people who are finding, even in this market, great deals on fix and flips as well. So we're doing about 70-30 buy and hold and fix and flip.
Awesome. Now, when you talk about the buy and holds, now obviously we can break that down from a long-term strategy and then a short-term strategy. Is Airbnb still a thing? Is that short-term rental still a thing, or are you seeing a little bit of more pushback on that?
As long as you're in a municipality that allows it, and in a good area where you have access to, amenities where people want to take advantage of, Airbnb is still profitable for a lot of our clients. We have clients that are, doubling and tripling the market rents that they would receive on just a long-term tenant by doing short-term rentals. And a lot of people have even ventured off into the mid-term rental space where they're renting to people like traveling nurses or corporations who need housing for a short period of time, or generally longer than your typical short-term rental. So it'd be a mid-term rental. So we're talking 6 to 9 months, where people are securing again double and triple the amount of market rents. But then definitely long-term rentals are producing cash flow for our borrowers as well. So it really just depends on how the numbers play out for you in your particular deal.
That's awesome. I never thought about the midterm, considering that, but yeah, traveling agent. Now, traveling nurses was a huge thing during the pandemic, right? There
Hmm.
wasn't enough nurses going around. So, oh my God, I can create an LLC and now I can go from Colorado to Georgia because they need more staffing. I mean, is that still relevant now, even though we're out of the pandemic, or what are you seeing?
I believe that there's always going to be a need to have, medical staff that are able to rotate and move around. So I think there's always going to be a demand for that. But even in spaces like insurance rentals, where people get displaced from their homes for, short periods of time, those can be good midterm rentals as well. Like I said, different corporations. I have people who are renting out to all sorts of different agencies that provide housing in the midterm for people who may be in some sort of a transitional period. So it's definitely not limited to just the medical field, but there are opportunities out there for midterm rentals in a bunch of different scenarios.
Awesome. Normally we kind of talk for probably the first like 20, 30 minutes, but I think there's been such a demand, and I see already some good questions that are going to probably spark some more conversations. Vince, I think we should go to the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all about going to the questions. I like the interaction. I like going off script. And then with that being said, I think the traveling nurses are here to stay. I think in the long run, it's just an overall change in the medical field. Not trying to discuss anything there. I just think that's where nursing's going.
Interesting. All right, so we got our first question from Jared. What's the best way to start if I only have a small budget?
That's a great question, Jared. We find that a lot of our successful investors, when they're starting out, they take advantage of partnerships. Sometimes you might have the bandwidth to handle all of the workload, and then you partner with someone who maybe is retired and they're tired of working, but they still want to put their money to use. Those are generally matches made in heaven, where you have someone that can in essence be the workhorse, and then someone be the actual money piece. So if you have a small budget, I would say brush up on your presentation skills and get in front of people who actually have money, who can put money behind a deal. And once you find a deal that's actually going to, make sense on paper, you'll be able to come up with a strategy and a solution that's going to be beneficial for you and your business partner. And once you partner on enough deals, you'll eventually build up enough cash where you don't need a partner anymore and you can go at it alone. So partnerships, I would definitely say, are going to be the first step that I would take a look into. The second thing I would say is, if you have good credit and stable income, you can actually look into taking out transactional funding, or short-term financing, or even personal loans, or maybe business loans, to help you get the seed funds that you need in order to get into an investment deal. Now, keep in mind, if you're taking out a loan, you're going to need to make sure that you have a dynamite investment that's going to not only be able to cover your payments on whatever loan you take out, but also the payments on the mortgage that you're able to secure.
That's awesome. I feel like, I don't want to, I want to get a little bit more specific, because I feel like those small budget means like it's so generic, and a small budget to you means different than what a small budget means to me, right? We would have three different sets of, so what is a small budget when we're talking about investing? What would you feel comfortable, even yourself, to start off with? Is it 20,000? Is it 50,000? Is it 100? What are you thinking?
Well, again, it all depends on the deal. A lot of it depends on the market, right? So,
Mhm.
our company, or I shouldn't say our company, but we have the ability, you and I have the ability to do loans as small as 50,000 on, and we're talking on like, $75,000 purchases, right?
Correct.
So as long as a borrower, I would say what a borrower wants to come to the table with or be able to at least show is that they have a 20% down payment plus 6 to 9 months worth of reserves.
That's
That's
awesome.
gonna be able to get them in a comfortable place where they're gonna be able to close on the property and not have to worry about, getting it up and running right away.
All right, and so just for viewers out there that are listening to this, so if we're buying let's just use $200,000, property, 20% of 200,000 would be 40, and then most times on average, you'll see your payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, it's going to be around 2,000 or so. So 2,000 times six is 12,000, or times nine is 18, plus that 40. So, in a sense, you're looking at about $60,000 necessary needed in a, $200,000 DSCR type of program. Is that correct?
That's right.
And I just always want to put real numbers, as we're having people listening, and I want them to, kind of have an understanding of the level of money that they need to have, because what was funny is, speaking of off the cuff, I had a call yesterday from a guy, and him and his mom are trying to get into the real estate game. And so they wanted to get a pre-approval. And so, there was kind of, he sent some information to me last week, and I saw it, and then I kind of moved on, and I paused on it. And so he's like, "Hey, so what do I qualify for? I need to know. We're ready to go." And I said, "Well, is that it?" And I didn't mean to try to be disrespectful, but you gave me an account that had $17,000 in there. And
Mhm.
I was like, at first it came in as a checking account, so I thought, hey, maybe they have a savings account, maybe there's a 401k coming, but there's got to be more to the equation, because, like, well, this is not really what you should use that money for. I mean, 17,000 is not going to move the needle to get you something. Even at a 75,000 range, I mean, that still might be not enough. And so, you know, the small budget mindset, we have to build up a little bit more to get into this game. When you say that?
Absolutely, absolutely. I would say again, sticking to those numbers of 20% plus 6 months of reserves, that's going to make it more realistic for you. But again, we 17,000 from you and 17,000 from a partner
There
turns
you go.
into a completely different situation. So now we're talking about two people with small budgets that go in to partner on a deal, and now we have a different scenario on our hands.
Definitely. All right,
Want
let's go to
to throw one thing up in the partnership. Make sure you also discuss the exit plan in that
Yes.
partnership. Let's not always just look at the good side of pairing up. Let's make sure we always talk about what could be the downside risk and what's the exit plan of that partnership.
I agree.
Absolutely. It should all be listed on paper as well. It's no verbal contracts. This is all written down so that everybody's
Operating
clear on what the
agreements.
expirations are, expectations are. That's right.
Yep. All right, we got a next one from Richard. Is Burr the Burr method still working well in today's market?
Yes, it is. So let's
I think we
Oops,
lost them.
we lost Brandon. Brandon, come back.
The Burr method, I think he was going to break down what is Burr. It's buying, what is it?
Rehabbing,
Buying, rehabbing,
renting,
renting, re-
renovation,
and then repeat it.
refining, or whatever. Right.
Yeah, refi and then repeat the. Yeah, I mean, and that really, and that was, I kind of stumbled upon that a couple years ago, and it makes so much sense. Like, but the biggest thing about Burr is the B. What are you buying into, and for how much? What's the wiggle room? So I got an example, which is interesting. Is I got a lady right now. She's an investor, and she bought a property for 89,000. you know that right now in this market opens up the door tremendously. The place needed about $100,000 worth of work. All right, in that area, a newly rehab property is going for $350,000. Bought it for 89. in it, had it renovated for 100. So she owes 189, but the marketplace is dictating 350,000. I mean, how much wiggle room does she have to negotiate and get a buyer? It's ridiculous.
Correct.
So all this, so whether she wants to cash out and get the lump sum, right, with a sale, and that would be more of a fix and flip, or if she wanted to, buy, renovate, rent it out, let's say that, if it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home, you could probably rent it out, maybe let's just say $2,000. So even in that mark, if she could rent it out, she could refinance, right? She could take 75%. That's generally, I think we have a new lender right now, ladies and gentlemen. We can actually do 80% cash out refinances on DSCR. I mean, we're one of very few people that can do that out there. Most people are going to be capped to 75. But I got my calculator. So we're doing 80% of 350. That's 280. She's into it for 189. She's getting $91,000, tax free. So that's what the BRRRR method is all based on. Like, hey, now, the mortgage, the rent has to cover the mortgage. And now you're leveraging this property. And now we just gave her a year's worth of salary.
Yep. I mean, and that's the thing too, right? You're talking about if you find the right property and you do
Correct.
this, that's a $90,000 somehow gain, right? And if you do it for 2 years and that was your primary residence first, that's 90 grand tax free.
Correct.
If you hold it and you live there, right? Because another aspect of the BRRRR is, hey, buy your buy your primary resident with units, rehab it, rent it, then go from a 3-unit to a 2 and keep moving down until you have the money to buy your single family.
Correct. Yeah, I think, and that kind of goes back to that previous question, the whole budget. That's another option too. I mean, there's no right or wrongs, but like if you have a small budget, depending on, where you live currently, you should look to maybe buy a house, or buy a multi-unit with the 3.5%. Like the person that's got, 17,000, they'd be better off getting an FHA primary residence, situation, live there for a year, and then look to maybe, turn that into, they call that house hack and what have you. But that would be an avenue to maybe get into the whole real estate investment game, than to take 17,000, if they don't feel comfortable with a partner, or, or they got to continue to save. That might be the route to go if you only have a small budget. So it just really depends. Welcome back, Brandon.
Hey, sorry about that. Deals are coming in.
Hey, that's always a good thing. How do you want to respond to this one?
So yeah, definitely the BRRRR strategy is definitely still working well in today's market. Like you guys said, it really just all boils down to what the numbers are. That's going to be my answer for everything. Once you find a deal, whether it's in an up market, a down market, you have to analyze. So we're talking about, what is it going to take you to get into the deal? What is it going to take you to rehab it? What's your ARV going to be once the property is done? What's going to be the potential to cash out on a refinance, and what's going to be the potential for you to cash flow once you get a tenant in there and you're on your 30-year loan. If you can find something that matches up with the equations on all of those factors, is definitely going to still be a good strategy even in today's market. And I just heard today, I just looked on my socials earlier, and one of my top realtors was saying, hey, it looks like the market here in Chicago actually is starting to cool. So buyers are going to be in a position to secure some deals that are definitely going to work out, in terms of all of those things.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, obviously, the threshold of what can a buyer handle is always going to be in question to dictate the values of properties. So if a buyer can, continue to handle a 6% interest rate based on 400,000, 500,000, then there's no reason to drop the values. But hey, once you start seeing a slowdown in interest from buyers, you're going to have to bring that value down. That housing has to come down to meet them where they are, where they would feel comfortable to move forward. And that will always dictate what the market value should be. What we said on here, the biggest thing on BRRRR is the B. It's what are you buying into at what level?
Mhm.
If you're buying a property that's in the area let's just say in the area today, the value is 250 and you're buying it at 200,000, you're not leaving yourself a lot of wiggle room for any upside to this. There's a lot more downside, especially to your point, if values are coming down. That's the one scary thing about ARVs and fixing and flipping. It's like, hey, the value when I bought it was 350, but now a year later it took you to fix that house up. Now the value is only 275 in that area. That's a dramatic change to what your original game plan was.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea to always use 70% as your go-to number, right? Because that's gonna, in the best case scenario, you're gonna walk away with 30% equity in the deal. But you always can come back and rely on the fact that you can go up to 80% on a rate and term refinance. So that's gonna give you that a buffer there. Now, if values decrease more than 10% or 20%, then we probably got some bigger fish to fry. But
Sure.
that'll definitely help you. Using those numbers as a guide is definitely going to help you to be able to kind of deal with some of the market correction.
We just picked up a lender, Brandon, just so you know, that can do 80% cash out refinances on DSCRs.
That's amazing.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Thought it was. All right, next one up. Appreciate you guys. Keep them coming. What's the biggest challenge investors face with the DSCR loans?
Biggest challenge I would say is definitely not preparing enough on the front end as far as reserves go. Those are a lot of the problems that we encounter on the application side of the piece. As far as on the back end, though, just making sure that you're able to secure the correct tenant, someone that's going to pay and on time, long term, and be able to manage the property as well on that end. So I would say those are really the biggest two challenges on the front end and the back end of DSCR loans.
All right. I would say, because you guys, as far as the DSCR, the cash reserve, you said 6 to 9 months is
Hmm.
rough. Can you use cash out? So if a person's doing a cash out refinance, can we use that for cash reserves?
That is going to help you qualify based off of the reserve requirement.
Okay. So
Yeah.
that's a good thing too. That's
Right.
a good thing to know.
Hmm.
The
Yeah.
cash that they're pulling out can be used as a reserve requirement for the property because at least you're looking at it as it was their cash to begin with because it was sitting in the house
That's right.
in terms
Yeah.
of the equity.
Hmm.
No, that's huge. And then you I just want to make sure we're clear. You use the term 70%. Make sure you're 70% of the ARV. What in your opinion are best ways to kind of determine ARVs? I mean, are we just 100% reliant on the realtors to give us that number? What due diligence can I do as an investor?
I would definitely say start with your real estate agent. So, someone who really understands the market and what properties that have been rehabbed or selling for, because ultimately that's going to be what's going to drive your appraisal. And when I say 70%, you want to make sure that your all-in cost is topped out at 70%. So that means what you're buying it for and the amount of money that you need to put into it, along with your holding costs. If you can squeeze that all into 70% of that after repaired value, then you're going to put yourself in a good position to be able to exit that short-term fix and flip loan smoothly and get into a long-term loan where you'll be able to pick up that cash flow later.
Got it. Now, just interested because I think it makes a difference. Are you more fix and flip guy, or are you more buy and hold guy?
I have a passion for the fix and flip. It's something that I like, but truly a lot of the gurus that I pay attention to, they're long-term guys. They like to get in and really use the quick money for on a fix and flip to get into a long-term investment that is going to create wealth down the line, long runs. As you're
Right.
paying down these properties and getting the mortgages off, those are gonna not only appreciate in equity but create all cash flow down the line. So I like fix and flip. I think it's the exciting program, but long-term investing is the way to go as well. And if you can master both, you're really going to put yourself in a win-win situation.
I see most times with that concept being said is, you're doing some wholesale deals, to stack up money to get eventually to get the opportunity to do the fix and flip to get that lump sum of money. So then now maybe you can buy two and start building, two buy and holds. So you really can start building it out. If you do your cards right and you have, let's just say houses, single families, if you had
Mm.
16 houses and and they're all $20,000 or $2,000 a month. I mean, that's $32,000 a month that's coming in. That can solve a lot of problems and issues. Building it out slowly but surely. We have a client actually in house. Great client, and we try to take great care of her. And she owns 30 properties.
Mm.
30 of them. And
Wow.
for the longest time, she was free and clear. And now
Wow.
she has a Jones and right now to do the cash out refinance. I think you've actually helped us with a couple of those, at
Okay.
least about 4 or 5 of them right now.
Wow.
So it's just one of those things. If you can build it over time, it can be
Mhm.
powerful.
Yep.
How's that REO go for you, buddy, when you got to fill that out in the application?
Highly annoying. Mac says, how can first time investors avoid getting overwhelmed?
Good question. So I would definitely say education, education, education. You have to know what it is that you're getting into. And don't be afraid to start slow. I meet a lot of new investors that want to get in and they want to go and blow the roof off the house and blow the back door out and, add a second level addition and all of these things. There's nothing wrong with starting with a simple, cosmetic rehab. Get your training wheels going first, learn the ins and outs of a deal. Even if I hate to say this, but even if you don't make a bunch of money on your first deal, even if you break even on a few, learn your way through first. Learn what you're going to actually really be encountering before you take the training wheels off and really go for it. So that's one thing. Definitely learn education. I would say join investor groups, talk to people who are already doing this successfully, and they'll be able to give you a wealth of knowledge on things that you can avoid as a new investor, right? Other things, I'll go back to this again. Partnerships are definitely a way to for newer investors to avoid being overwhelmed. There's nothing better than being able to share those responsibilities with someone else. That way you can minimize, your time that you actually have to physically deal with things, whether it be paperwork or actually visits to properties or stores or dealing with tenants, whatever the case may be. Partnerships are the way to go as well. And then, also just, making sure that you have a good team of people, a good lender, a good real estate agent, a good contractor, a good property manager. Interview all of these people, find out what kind of success that they and their clients are having, and that'll go a long way for you on the once you actually get into it yourself.
Vince, have you ever done any investments in
Me,
real
no,
estate?
I kind of stayed away from investing in real estate and doing stuff of that nature. Just never one of my things. I always kind of stayed away from that on the consumer side too. Some of it just, to me, it seems like it's too much of a build. Like everyone has an expectation, but they don't have the necessarily plan of how to actually get it done.
I love that. And that's very true. And sometimes you're a part of their failures, as being a lender. You're
Oh
watching
yeah.
them, seeing a credit score of 680 go to a 560 because they can't pay this investment. I mean, there is you have to be, if you're risk averse, this is not for you.
Yeah.
It's got to be someone that's, willing to take the risk, and to some degree, it's weird. It's to some degree. I was thinking in my head, trying to make an analogy of like having a kid. Like you're never 100% ready. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you can try to plan everything out, but there's always things you're ill prepared for, and you just have to kind of flow. You have to be able to have the resources to deal with those types of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess like for me, since I was always in the broker channel, and
Hmm.
just because of EPOs, I always looked at it like, hey, why am I going to do this and then run the risk of someone refinancing or paying it off 6 months earlier and run the risk of losing what I earned. So it's kind of one of those things why I kind of stayed away from it to begin with.
Talk about that, Brandon, because actually there are no EPOs, right? For fix and
Not
flips?
not on this side. No, we pretty much 90 days is all our expectation is for a borrower to actually hold on to a short-term loan.
Yeah, and then obviously the EPOs is our early payment. What is it? Early payment payoffs or early payoffs?
Early payoff, let's just call it that
Okay,
way, right?
early payoff. So like sometimes as a broker, we can get penalized for providing someone a client to a lender, and then they're not gonna at least make at least 6 months of payments. But we don't have that even on the DSCR, right? Because of
On
the
the
prepay.
DSCR, no. Yeah, there's the investors build in a prepayment penalty on DSCR loans. So so the borrower themselves is going to eat the cost of an early payoff.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that actually was that's the huge part that really kind of changed my mindset as far as EPOs are going, because everything has already been built in. So whether it's a fix and flip, 90 days, it's going to take 90 days to fix up a property, get the permits, all that type of jazz. And the DSCR, most of them have the prepayment penalty, to subside us. So we're not really penalized if they have to pay it off quicker.
So there's some protections now in the marketplace to kind of go against what my theory was as to why I didn't touch it.
Yes, but I love the theory because you are correct. I mean, that's what we had to go with back in the day, but they have drastically, really the shift happened right during the pandemic. I'll let Brandon touch on that, but I feel like there's been an overall shift in the marketplace where, they really have catered right now. If we look at 5 different types of buyers, they've catered to first-time home buyers, obviously with down payment assistance and grant programs, and they've catered to real estate investors. They have just said, here, we want you back as a mainstay. Traditional lending is literally doing these products on a day in, day out basis.
Well,
Yeah.
that's true too, but then also too, rates have spiked up where that becomes more aggressive and more looked at for the investor.
True. What do you say to all that, Brandon? You think, have you noticed an uptake since the pandemic?
Oh yeah, no, our business. Once the pandemic, was over in most people's eyes, our business went on like a 20-month over month record. We funded more deals every month right out of the pandemic than before, and our business today looks completely different than the way that it looked before 2019. So yeah, no, the pandemic was almost like a springboard for real estate investors.
Go ahead and give out your contact information, Brandon.
So you can reach me at 312-291-3734. That's my direct line. And you can also reach me by email at bharrington@fmsinvestor.com. That's F like Frank, M like Mary, S like Sam, investor.com.
Awesome. Yeah, it's we appreciate everyone being on here. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Our YouTube channel is Epic Spotlight. If you're liking the information today, please let us know by giving us a like. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, make sure you give us a like. We just want to make sure that we're giving you the information and the topics that you want to hear, and so that kind of gives us the acknowledgement that, hey, you're doing the right things, and we always want to make sure Epic is doing epic things. So appreciate that. Next question. Let's go to these. We keep them coming. And like I said, if you have questions, go ahead and put in the comment section the question. We'll get to them as quickly as we can. Lori, I think she's a first timer, so appreciate you listening, Lori. How important is location versus property condition when investing?
That's a good question. So, well, the age old, I think it's an adagio, right? Is that how you say it? The old saying, right, is real estate is all about location, 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 right? So I personally believe you can have the worst property if it's in the best location, then that's what's important, right? You're going to be able to create a deal off of the location alone. Now the proper way to answer that question though is it's going to be what's best for you, your budget, and your level of expertise, right? Or the expertise of the people that you have around you. So we just talked about a newer investor, biting off more than they can chew with too big of a rehab project. That can be something that'll, be detrimental no matter where the location of a property is. But if you're able to assemble the right team and have, the right people behind you, and we do the proper planning up front, a bad property in a great location can be, a match made in heaven, right? It could be a great deal. But definitely, a bad property condition in a bad location, unless it's extremely cheap, you probably want to stay away from something like that. But again, it really, there isn't a one size fit all to that question. It's really just going to depend on how the numbers play out.
Yeah, they we had a deal in Clearwater, Florida. Clearwater, Florida,
Mhm.
DSCR. Guy was wanting to buy it, and it came as what is the appraisal condition when it's so bad?
Subject to or
Not even a subject to, like a C5 reading.
C5, C5,
As is
C6,
ready to fall down.
And
C5,
and
C6.
the thing was, like literally told the guy, like, hey, how's this look? Like, the guy wanted to buy the property. He was going to use his own money to fix it up, and then he was going to take care of the business. So he was like, hey, I really don't want to do the fix and flip. Something about just the timelines, right? For most people out there, if you haven't are familiar, so we're offering fix and flip products, and these fix and flip products generally give you 12 months, right? You get 12 months to complete the work, and if you don't complete the work within 12 months, you do have usually a capability of getting two extensions. You have to pay for them; they're not free, but you can get two extensions that'll take you another 6 months. So they're giving you literally 18 months to be able to fix up the property and sell it or refinance. They really, at that portion of time, they don't care what you do, but you got to do one or the other. And so he didn't want to really be on the time strain. He wanted to kind of do his thing. And so he wanted to do a DSCR, no prepayment penalty. And so the good thing about being a broker, we can shop around. We have lenders that can do zero prepayment penalties. You're going to get a higher interest rate, but you can get a no prepayment penalty option on a DSCR. So we went that route, and he was upset because I was like, man, is this place dilapidated? I mean, we're getting C5 readings, which basically is like it's uninsurable, and the lenders didn't want to lend on it.
Mhm.
And and he was getting so mad. I was like, well, pay cash then, man. I mean, rules are rules. I don't know what to tell you. Like this is how it is. So property condition does play a role. So if a place is dilapidated, they're not just going to allow you to get it because you want it. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
We actually had an epic mastermind. We used to do masterminds about a year ago. We had an appraiser on, and he was explaining how the biggest difference right now is property condition. That's a big topic in the appraisal. As they're comparing different homes, why this house is worth more than this house, it might be the condition of the house. How run down is it? How much does it look like it's being used? And how much does it look, newly rehabbed home versus something that hasn't been rehabbed in over 30 years? It makes a difference.
Yep.
And so property condition is I almost want to say almost as important as location, but yeah, to your point, Brandon, location. It first starts there, but that second importance would be, what does that property look like?
Check the foundation. Everything else can be repaired, right? You don't want to worry about a foundation cost and everything else, because I don't want to say that's wasted money, but that's money you're not going to see back.
Yeah. A lot of lenders these days, if the property is too bad and if it's in too bad condition, they won't even consider it a fix and flip. They'll just roll it over to new construction guidelines, which means you have to be able to demonstrate a significant amount of experience to even get into a loan for something like that.
How now, I'm glad you brought that up because I'm curious on that. How is the new construction, new guidelines nowadays?
Well, right now you're with new construction, you're looking at anywhere between, on the low end, if you're experienced, 25%, and on the high end, 40 or 50% down payment on the property, right? Because generally in those cases you're buying land, right? So it's a lot less, but if you're looking at a property that's really in bad condition and you go into a deal where you're expecting to do a fix and flip with 10 or 20% down, and then end up being chopped in half, right, by your underwriter because of the property condition. That can really kind of, divert someone's, expectations and budget. But yeah, as far as new construction goes, 25 to 40% down generally, but still up to 100% of construction costs, as long as it's not exceeding like 85% of the total project.
Now,
Brandon,
go ahead, Vince.
I wanted to just add any requirements that if you're doing the new construction, hey, you had to have a project done within the last 2 or 3 years, or any history of your ability?
Oh yeah,
Guidelines?
So for new construction program right now, it's going to be required that you've shown that you've done at least 3 fix and flips in the last 3 years, and then you're going to need to demonstrate that you're working with a contractor that has done at least 3 ground up new construction deals. So the vetting is definitely there. You have to be able to show that not only you know how to manage a project, but that the person that you're hiring knows how to actually build a house from the ground up.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Just wanted to fill that in on the
Mhm.
last question.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, next question is from Rick. I think, Rick, you're a first timer too, so appreciate you listening. Are DSCR loans harder to get with rising interest rates?
So I wouldn't say harder to get. A DSCR loan is always going to take into account all of the expenses that are go into the property versus the amount of money that you're going to be able to rent the property for. So naturally, if the interest rates are higher, that's going to mean a higher principal and interest payment on your loan. Which makes it tighter in that regard, right? You have to be able to make sure that principal, interest, taxes, and insurance are still going to be covered by the rent. So, is it making it harder to get? We're still doing a lot of them, even with higher interest rates than we've seen in the past. But it does play a factor.
I mean, right now, I wouldn't even consider them higher or rising interest rates. Right now, we're on a decline in interest rates. And what's been impressive and really kind of surprising is just the demand of DSCR loans right now. And really, and let's just unpack that for a second. For a standard deal out there, for people that are trying to buy a property, you're going to have to be vetted on your credit, your income, and your assets. And so basically with the DSCR loan, we remove the whole income as an issue. And that helps tremendously for people that are self-employed, writing off everything under the sun, people that have a 1099, receive cash, they can't prove all their income. If you're buying investment properties, you don't have to worry about that. And we can do first time investors. So if you're still living with for your Gen Zs out there, your millennials, you're still living with mom and dad in the basement, and you're listening to Grant Cardone, and you're like, hey, I don't want to buy any primary residence, I just want to buy all investment properties. We can help you. We can still help you do that.
Because I want to write off that. I want to write off that W-2 income till it's zero, right? With that being said, the higher interest rate market, there's an easy solution, although no one wants to talk about it. Just put a bigger down payment.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah, it's everyone has, and that's one of the things I do like about real estate is there's no right or wrongs. It's just people's opinions, people's strategies. Obviously, some people have success going a certain route or direction. And then, when you have success, it builds conviction within you. Well, this works because it worked for me. But, someone else can go an entirely different way and still get the same success. Might take them longer. Efficiency might be in question, but they still can get the job done. And so all we're doing is supplying you with different things that we see and hear and do ourselves in our lives personally and professionally that have worked for others, and it has worked for us. But I just think right now what is fascinating is that DSCR loans, I'm seeing the rates actually coming down. I'm seeing high sixes, with certain credit scores, which is like, man, is this a primary house or is this investment? This is crazy to me.
And you know what's still going up? Rents. Rents are still going up. So even with home prices, doing whatever they do, rents are still up. So you're still able to cover a lot of payment with market rents these days.
Yeah. Now, I was going back to that short term, midterm, long term. I'm just curious about this. In my head, when I was thinking short term, and I know it'll fluctuate from location to location, but I'm curious on what you see, because in my head, on a short-term scenario, probably 20 out of 30 days out of the month would be rented, right? The other 10 days are going to be cleaning and, and just, scheduling and all that type of stuff. So in my head, I was like, is $200 reasonable per day? Is that kind of the standard bear? Are you seeing even higher numbers on a day basis that's being charged for Airbnb?
Oh man, it depends on the property type. Again, the location.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm seeing them on the low ends for like, probably 20 or 30% more than what your average hotel is going for in the area. And then on the higher end, I'm seeing, thousands of dollars per day for
Wow. Wow.
for rentals.
Okay.
Yeah, just they all they can span, the whole gambit depending on where the market is, where the property is located at.
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, like, I was taking, for example, like a Benton Harbor, Michigan, right? Just
Mhm.
over, the border in Michigan. You got Lake Michigan there, so you got a nice little beach town per se.
Mhm.
If you're getting $200 a day, 20 days, so you're making 4 grand. You could probably get that house for 250 or less. And just and you just basically say 10% is going to be your PITI. So, you're looking at, 2,500 or less. I mean, there's your $1,500 cash flow and something like that, and gives
Yeah.
you a vacation spot yourself. So,
Yeah.
um, tons of opportunities and stuff like that, which is pretty cool.
I like hotels, room service, and
Those are good too.
Yeah.
All right, we got Jim Carrey. I love that actor. How much capital do you suggest before doing a first flip?
So you always want to have enough for whatever your required down payment is. Let's just call it 20%. You also want to be able to account for closing costs. And then you also want to be able to account for two more things, your holding cost, as well as renovation funds to get started, right? Generally with the flip, you're going to need to be able to get your project off of the ground before you'll be able to tap into your renovation funds. So I would say, as far as capital goes, down payment, closing costs, holding costs, and money to start your renovation. So, just as a rule of thumb, really 50,000 is probably a good number to start at. But if you have a deal, that fits based off of the calculation we just gave, then you might be able to get away with a little less than 50,000.
Yeah, and what we have seen is I had a client come last year where she ended up using the equity in her house, right? So,
Hmm.
for these people, or for those people out there that have owned their home maybe anywhere from 5 to 10, 15 years, you're probably sitting on some good equity right now. And
Hmm.
so tapping in with a line of credit is a play, getting the line of credit and then being able to buy. And that's what we're doing right now. We have a couple clients right now that are looking into investing in properties. And, we've submitted them right now for lines of credit. And so we'll get into lines of credit probably another day, Vince. That's kind of an idea to maybe bring Eileen on, or somebody of that nature, and we'll just talk about lines of credit. But lines of credit are a huge source. Anytime you can extract money, because always on our side of the fence, Brandon, they'll say, "Well, I don't want to refinance, right? I got
Hmm.
3-4%. I don't want to refinance," but it's the second mortgage that we're leaning on. And the thing is, with the second mortgage, you got to have a strategy, you got to have a plan. How are you going to pay this thing off? Because it's just
Hmm.
going to sit there interest only. But hey, if
Hmm.
we can, make money off of that, then we can use that money to pay that thing off. So strategy like that is what we try to do. But that's good to know. And then I want to go back to what Vince was saying with hotels and stuff. I mean, because I'm a hotel guy. I actually got to go to Michigan for a wedding in early October, and I didn't even think, I didn't second guess like getting an Airbnb for a night. I was like, let me get a hotel.
Oh
But
yeah.
I think when people talk about location, I want people to always focus on where hotels are. They do the due diligence. They
Yeah.
they they have already sought out and looked at surveys, and they did the research. You want to always buy around hotels. I think hotels is your landmark that lets you know that's a good area. And then you can get some of the outflow of what people can't stay. And I want to get your thought process. What do you guys think about that as a landmark for investing?
If you're looking at short-term rentals, it's a great idea. Definitely. It just made me think about, we went to Nashville, Tennessee for a family reunion just here over the summer about a month ago. And truth be told, I kind of procrastinated on booking a hotel. So we tried to last minute, get rooms at the hotel where my family was hosting the family reunion, and they were going for like $1,000 a night. So
Mm,
we said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to stay at the home two suites for $1,000 a night. So what I'll do is take a look at an Airbnb. We ended up getting a townhouse, which was maybe like 5 or 10 minutes away from the hotel. And we're talking about, my family of five and like maybe 4 or 5 different bedrooms. The kids got a swimming pool to play in. There was like a park right across the street. It was, a lot of great amenities, and we ended up paying like $300 a night for the place.
there you go.
So we saved a lot of money. The person that owns the Airbnb, probably made, if they keep that place booked like that for the month, like you said, those numbers are gonna blow the market rents in that area away.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think from a short-term rental, you need to focus on 20 days and how much you can make within 20 days, on a daily basis. To
Hmm.
your point, $300, 20, that's $6,000. Probably, what, even if it was a 3,000 per month, very beautiful home, townhome. Well, it's a
Hmm.
townhome, so it's probably closer to 300,000 to 250. So you're probably looking at 2,500 to 3,000 a month. So you're making 3K in profit, and that's $36,000 a year. So that'll wake you up. That'll be
Yeah.
a second job you'll take.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, hotels. If I can give you any key, look at where hotels are and plant your investment property right around a hotel. That's a place to be. All right. I think we get some congratulatory, fantastic show. Real estate made simple. Appreciate that, Jeff. That's what we're trying to do every day. And I think we'll finish up with this is the last question. Can partnerships speed up scaling a portfolio?
I believe they can. Absolutely. I think number one, you have different credit strategies you can employ when you have multiple guarantors. People who can, you'll be able to take advantage of using multiple people's credit instead of just one person. You'll be able to pull down payments and reserves together. You'll be able to, pull whatever required man hours go into managing a portfolio, right? So, all of those types of things. I definitely believe that partnerships can help with scaling a portfolio as well.
Just got to find that right partner. It's so
Hmm.
scary. You hear about deals going awry, and it's a tough thing. But if you can find a good person that's got the same ideology, same on thing, it can work out for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was great. No, this has been great information. I think today I think we knocked it out. Over 224 people listening to us today. So really appreciate the audience listening and giving us some good questions. Hopefully we gave you that. Make sure you give us a like. Let us know that this is a topic that you liked, and that you want more of. We'll definitely, hopefully, Brandon, you were great. We hope to have you back on.
Awesome. Thank you. Glad to be here.
Hey, Brandon, throw your contact information out there one more time.
Yes, sir. So you can actually call me directly at 312-291-3734. You can email me at bharrington@fmsinvestor.com. And you can also follow me on social media, Instagram handle, Get Funded by Harrington.
Thank you.
Awesome. Vince, what we
Hey,
got
man,
for tomorrow?
it's me and you tomorrow, right?
Me and you, one-on-one.
Are we going to tease our realtors out there? We going to talk real estate tomorrow?
I think we're talking real estate. I think we got some new program that we're going to come out with tomorrow.
All right, that's good. We'll talk about it a little later, but we'll see everyone tomorrow. I'll be back. Thanks for watching.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, thank you. Remember, if you want to check out our preferred listings, we got one sold last week. So our preferred listings are at www.danteroyster.com. Go out to the website, danteroyster.com. Check out our preferred listings. Once you're off this and you have some time, definitely check out Epic Spotlight Podcast. It was ranked, I don't know what the ranking is now, but it was ranked in the business category on Apple. So it's doing good. People are really liking the information. We have Olivia White. She's a seasoned realtor. She gives expertise on just great customer service and good care of a client. So listen to that one. So check out Olivia White on Epic Spotlight on YouTube. And me and Vince will be here tomorrow, talking real estate and mortgages. And thanks for watching.
I got one more thing. You need to tell us how many YouTube subscribers do you have now on the channel?
Hey, I appreciate you doing that. I appreciate everyone that's really been making a huge impact on our YouTube channel. It means a lot to us. Obviously all the likes and subscriptions will allow others to get this information too. This information, it goes for anyone that's in, Washington, Colorado, Florida. This is for everyone. It's not just for people that we can help, but this is for people to know. So this is good information. So if you keep liking and sharing and subscribing to others, more people will hear us. But we did hit our initial goal of 2,500. So that's an awesome thing. 2,500 subscribers, from a little no-name place. I think I've had a YouTube channel since 2008. Probably never used it. Probably had one person staring at me, my mom. And now look at us now. So our next goal is to get to 5,000. It's a big goal, so we need your help. So please like and share, and definitely leave us a comment. All that goes into helping the algorithm let us know that we're definitely someone to listen to. So appreciate that, Vince. Yeah, 5,000 is the next one.
3,000 before 5,000. Thanks, everybody.
You got to think big.
Yeah. See you when I'm out.
All right. Have a good one, guys.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
man.
Take care. All right.
All right, we're good. Bye.